more than 1,000 years, Constantinople stood as one of the most formidable cities on earth. Capital of the Byzantine Empire, it had survived sieges, plagues, and the collapse of empires around it. But by the middle of the 15th century, something had changed. The empire that had once stretched across the Mediterranean had shrunk to almost nothing, a few islands, a fragment of the Peloponnese, and the city itself. Within its ancient walls lived perhaps 50,000 people, a shadow of the 500,000 who had once filled its streets. Constantinople endured, but it endured alone. In 1451, the Ottoman throne passed to a young man of 19. His name was Mehmed, and he was ascending to power for the second time. His first reign, years earlier, had been brief and troubled. Those who had underestimated him before would not do so again. Mehmed II was a careful student of history, fluent in several languages and deeply versed in the art of siege warfare. He had grown up hearing that Constantinople was the prize that had eluded every sultan before him. From the earliest months of his reign, he made clear that he intended to claim it. Mehmed's first move was not an army, it was a fortress. In the spring of 1452, he ordered the construction of a massive fortification on the European shore of the Bosphorus, directly opposite an existing Ottoman fort on the Asian side. The new structure, Rimel-Hezuri, was built in under 4 months, an extraordinary feat of engineering and will. When it was complete, Ottoman cannons at the strait could sink any ship attempting to pass without permission. Constantinople's sea route to the Black Sea, its lifeline for grain and supplies, was effectively severed. The city had not yet been attacked, and it was already being starved. Around the same time, a man arrived at Mehmed's court who would change the nature of warfare at Constantinople. He was a gunsmith, Hungarian by origin, who had first approached the Byzantine Emperor seeking work. The empire, short of funds, could not meet his price. Mehmed could, and did. What this craftsman offered was something extraordinary, the knowledge to cast bombards of unprecedented size. In the foundries of Edirne, working through the winter of 1452, he produced a cannon so large that it required 60 oxen and hundreds of men to transport. The stone balls it fired weighed over 500 kilograms. No wall in the world had been tested against anything like it. Constantine XI understood what was coming. The emperor had long known that without outside help, his city could not hold against the full force of Ottoman power. He sent envoys to Rome, to Venice, to Genoa, and to the courts of Western Europe, asking for ships, soldiers, and a crusade. The response, measured against the scale of the threat, was almost nothing. Decades of theological dispute between the Latin and Orthodox churches had poisoned the relationship between Byzantium and the West. Some princes offered sympathy, most offered nothing. Pope Nicholas V urged action, but could not command it. The Christian world, fractured and distracted, would not move in time. One response did come from Genoa, not as an official state commitment, but through the initiative of a private commander, arrived Giovanni Giustiniani Longo with approximately 700 soldiers and 2 ships. It was a small force by any measure, but Giustiniani's reputation preceded him. He was regarded as one of the most skilled soldiers of his generation, with direct experience in fortification defense. Constantine XI welcomed him, gave him command of the critical central section of the land walls, and appointed him protostrator, a rank of high military authority. For the defenders of Constantinople, his arrival was among the most consequential moments of the entire siege. Not everyone in the Ottoman court welcomed the prospect of another siege. Halil Pasha, Mehmed's Grand Vizier, and one of the most experienced figures in the empire, had long maintained cautious relations with the Byzantines. He argued that the campaign was reckless, that the walls of Constantinople had defeated every previous attempt, that the political risks were severe, and that the empire's interests were better served by patience. His opposition was genuine, but it carried a darker shadow. Rumors circulated that he had received Byzantine gold over the years. Mehmed listened to his minister's counsel and overruled it entirely. The decision, whatever Halil Pasha's true motives, had been made. In the first days of April 1453, the Ottoman army arrived before the walls of Constantinople. The scale of the force was unlike anything the city had faced in living memory. Estimates of the army's size vary, but most place it between 60,000 and 80,000 men, supported by a fleet of around 120 ships. The Byzantine garrison numbered somewhere between 7,000 and 10,000 defenders, soldiers, civilians, and foreign volunteers, spread across 14 miles of walls. Mehmed established his red and gold tent in the center of the land wall line, directly before the gate of St. Romanos. The siege had begun. Inside the city, one of the first defensive measures taken was the closing of the Golden Horn, stretching a massive iron chain boom across the harbor entrance. The Byzantines and their Genoese allies from Galata blocked Ottoman ships from entering the waterway that ran along the city's northern edge. If Ottoman vessels gained the Golden Horn, they could attack the less fortified sea walls from within the harbor. The chain held at the surface of the water, supported by wooden floats. It was an old technique, but it had worked before. For the moment, it held the northern flank secure and allowed the defenders to concentrate their attention on the land walls. Against the land walls, the bombardment had already begun. Urban's great bombards fired steadily at the Theodosian walls, some of the most sophisticated defensive fortifications ever built. The outer wall crumbled under the impact of the massive stone balls. Sections collapsed, but the Byzantines responded with extraordinary discipline each night, filling the breaches with earth, timber, and rubble, erecting makeshift barriers where the stone had fallen. For weeks, this grim cycle repeated. The bombardment tore the walls apart by day, and exhausted defenders rebuilt them by night. The bombards were not invincible. They were slow to reload, prone to overheating, and on one occasion a cannon burst, killing its own crew. But they were relentless. On the water, the first direct confrontation came quickly. In mid-April, Ottoman ships attempted to force their way past the chain boom and enter the Golden Horn. The Byzantine and Genoese fleet, though far smaller, fought back hard. The Christian ships used their superior height advantage over the lower Ottoman galleys, and the attack was driven off. It was one of the few clear victories for the defenders during the entire siege. The men who held the harbor returned to the city to some celebration, a moment of relief that was, in truth, already running short. Mehmed's response to the chain boom was audacious. Unable to force the harbor entrance, he found another way in. Over the course of a single night, likely around the 22nd of April, his engineers greased a hillside road with animal fat and tallow, laid down timber tracks, and hauled approximately 70 ships out of the Bosphorus, overland across the Galata Hill, and down into the Golden Horn. When dawn came, defenders on the city's walls looked out to find an Ottoman fleet already inside the harbor they had thought secured. The chain had not been broken, it had simply been bypassed. It was perhaps the most psychologically devastating moment of the siege. The defenders attempted to undo what had been done. A night raid using fire ships was organized to destroy the Ottoman fleet now anchored in the Golden Horn. It might have worked, but the plan was betrayed or discovered before it could be executed. Ottoman gunners opened fire on the approaching Byzantine fire ships, sinking several. The sailors who survived were captured. Mehmed, following the conventions of war and calculated example, had them executed in sight of the city walls. The defenders responded in kind, executing Ottoman prisoners in view of the Ottoman camp. The siege was no longer only about walls and cannons. It had become something more personal and more brutal. Hope for relief from the sea came and went. A small fleet of ships had been spotted approaching in mid-April. 3 Genoese vessels carrying supplies and 1 Byzantine grain ship, and had fought their way through the Ottoman blockade in a remarkable engagement that lifted spirits briefly inside the city. But what came next was harder to bear. A Venetian ship sent weeks earlier to scout for a relief fleet from Venice returned at the end of April with empty news. There was no fleet. Venice, bound by complex commercial interests and political calculations, had not dispatched one in time. The city understood then, if it had not before, that it would face the end largely on its own. Within the walls, the siege was straining not only the defenders, but the city's sense of itself. For decades, Byzantium and Rome had argued bitterly over religious union, whether the Orthodox and Catholic churches could be reconciled. A formal union had been agreed at the Council of Florence in 1439, partly in the hope of securing Western military support. But many in Constantinople had never accepted it. Even during the siege, significant portions of the population refused to worship alongside Latin soldiers. When Cardinal Isidore organized a joint service at the Hagia Sophia, attendance was sparse. The city that faced a common enemy could not find common ground within its own walls. As May wore on, the mood inside the city grew darker in ways that went beyond strategy. A thick fog settled over Constantinople, unusual for the season, and when it lifted, witnesses reported seeing strange lights moving around the dome of the Hagia Sophia. Days later, a lunar eclipse darkened the sky. For a population already exhausted and frightened, these events carried tremendous weight. Ancient prophecies circulated that Constantinople would never fall while the moon was full, that the city was under divine protection. When the eclipse came on the night of the full moon, many took it as a sign that the protection had been withdrawn. Fear is its own kind of siege. Mehmed made one final offer before the assault. He sent terms to Constantine XI. Surrender the city, and the lives of its inhabitants would be spared. The emperor and his court would be permitted to depart safely. The population would be protected. Constantine's reply, by most accounts, was measured but absolute. He was willing to pay tribute, to cede territory, but he could not give up the city. It had been entrusted to him, and he would not be the emperor who surrendered Constantinople. Whether this decision reflected genuine faith, duty, or a clear-eyed recognition that no terms could be trusted, history does not record. What it records is the answer: no. On the evening of the 28th of May, as Mehmed's commanders were issuing final orders for the assault that would come before dawn, Constantine XI walked to the Hagia Sophia. He attended a liturgy, perhaps the last Christian liturgy ever held in that great church. Beside him stood soldiers from Genoa and Venice, men who had spent years disagreeing about theology, now praying together. After the service, Constantine rode through the city, Speaking to the officers and men who held the walls, those who were present later wrote of what they witnessed. An emperor making his farewells. He knew, it seems, what the morning would bring. In the hours before dawn on the 29th of May, Mehmed launched the final assault. It came in coordinated waves. The first to attack were the irregular troops, the Bashi bazooks, poorly equipped volunteers, sent forward to tire the defenders and probe for weaknesses. They were driven back. Then came the Anatolian regulars, more disciplined and better armed, pressing hard against sections of the damaged wall before they too were repelled. Through each wave, the defenders fought with what strength remained, but that strength was not limitless. The Janissaries, Mehmed's elite professional soldiers, the most feared infantry in the Ottoman army, were still waiting. They had not yet been committed. As the Janissaries advanced, something happened at the center of the land wall line that changed everything. Giovan Giustiniani, the Genoese commander who had held the most critical section of the defenses for weeks, who had organized the night repairs, who had kept his men steady through the bombardment, was struck by a projectile. The wound was serious. He asked Constantine for permission to withdraw and seek treatment. The emperor, by some accounts, urged him to stay. But Giustiniani was carried through the Romanos Gate and taken to a ship. The men who had fought beside him watched him go. What had been a disciplined defense at the wall's center began to waver, and the Janissaries did not pause. At a small postern gate known as the Kirkoporta, a gap appeared that would prove catastrophic. The gate, used for sorties during the fighting, had been left unlocked or had failed to be secured in the chaos of the assault. Ottoman soldiers found it. 50, then hundreds poured through the gap. Suddenly, there were Ottoman troops inside the outer walls, attacking the defenders from behind. A cry went up, perhaps the most feared words that could be spoken in a besieged city. The Turks are inside. Panic spread along the walls. Defenders who had held for 7 weeks began to break. Constantine XI was near the Romanos Gate when the walls were breached. He had spent the night moving along the defenses, steadying his men, fighting alongside them. When the final collapse began, those around him urged him to flee, to reach a ship, to go to Maria, to survive and fight another day. He refused. He removed his imperial cloak and insignia so that he could not be singled out, and charged into the fighting. No reliable account records how he died. His body was never definitively identified. The last emperor of Byzantium disappeared into the battle and was not seen again. He had reigned for 4 years. The empire he inherited had lasted 11 centuries. By mid-morning on the 29th of May, Constantinople had fallen. Ottoman soldiers moved through the streets of a city that had not been taken by force in over 800 years. According to custom, Mehmed's men were granted 3 days of plunder. Churches were stripped of their relics, icons, and gold. Monasteries were ransacked. Private homes were searched. Thousands of civilians were enslaved. The Hagia Sophia, where the final liturgy had been held only hours before, filled with terrified survivors who had fled there seeking sanctuary. The doors were broken down. The violence was real. Those sources suggest Mehmed eventually moved to halt the worst excesses. The great city was taken, and its silences were new. That same afternoon, Mehmed II entered Constantinople. He rode through the streets to the Hagia Sophia, the largest Christian church in the world for nearly 1,000 years. He dismounted at the entrance and by one account knelt and placed a handful of earth on his head in a gesture of humility before God. Inside, he ordered that the church be converted immediately into a mosque. A cleric climbed to the pulpit and recited the call to prayer. The mosaics of Christian saints looked down from the walls. Mehmed looked around the great space and spoke words that have been recorded and debated ever since. He was 21 years old. The conquest was followed almost immediately by a political reckoning. Halil Pasha, the Grand Vizier who had opposed the siege, who had warned against it, who had served the Ottoman state for decades, was arrested. The charges against him included treason and allegations that he had accepted Byzantine payments to counsel caution. Whether those charges were true or were simply a convenient means of removing a powerful figure who had been proved wrong is a question historians continue to debate. He was held and, some months after the conquest, executed. Mehmed's victory had been total, and he had no further use for those who had doubted it. In the weeks that followed, Mehmed began the work of transforming Constantinople into the new capital of his empire. He invited repopulation, encouraging Greeks, Armenians, and Jews to settle in the city alongside Ottoman Turks. He worked to restore its infrastructure and institutions, and he claimed a title that carried enormous symbolic weight, Caesar Rum, Caesar of Rome. In doing so, he positioned himself not merely as the conqueror of a Christian city, but as the legitimate heir to the Roman imperial tradition. The city that had carried that tradition for a millennium was now, in his framing, still carrying it, just under different authority. Istanbul, as it would come to be known, was the new center of the world. The news reached Western Europe within days. Dispatches carried by ship and messenger spread the word across Italy, France, and the German lands. The reaction was one of genuine shock. Popes, princes, and chroniclers wrote of the fall of Constantinople as a catastrophe for Christendom. Calls went out for a new crusade to reclaim the city, louder and ultimately just as unsuccessful as every such call before it. The Venetian Senate dressed in mourning. In Florence, humanist scholars recorded the event with a mixture of grief and foreboding. The world they had known, in which Constantinople stood as the eastern pillar of Christian civilization, was gone. What would replace it was not yet clear. Among those who fled the city before, during, and after the siege were scholars, priests, and copyists carrying manuscripts, Greek texts that had survived in Constantinople's libraries for centuries, works of philosophy, mathematics, medicine, and history, traveled westward with the refugees who carried them. Many arrived in Florence, Venice, and Rome, where the Greek learning they brought would be read, translated, and debated by a generation of humanist scholars already reaching back toward antiquity. Whether the fall of Constantinople directly accelerated the Renaissance remains a question of scholarly debate, but the connections are real and the manuscript survived. The city fell. The knowledge did not. And that's it. Thank you for watching. The next story is waiting for you right here. Subscribe so you're always the first to know. Thanks for being part of this story. See you in the next one.